400 million years ago, Earth was a different place. No flowers, no birds, no towering forests, just endless shallow seas, and a haunting silence broken only by the crawl of monsters. Among them ruled the Eurypterids, the sea scorpions. But they were no ordinary scorpions. They were armored giants, some stretching longer than a human adult, with razor-sharp pincers and paddle-like limbs that cut through ancient waters with lethal grace. Their eyes, cold and multifaceted, scanned the darkness for prey. Anything that moved, trilobites, small fish, even each other, risked becoming a meal. Eurypterids were among Earth's first apex predators. Long before dinosaurs, long before sharks took over, they hunted with precision, with strength, and with terrifying adaptability. Some skulked across the seafloor, ambushing from beneath the mud. Others glided effortlessly through ancient lagoons, chasing their quarry with sudden bursts of speed. For over 200 million years, they dominated, evolving into hundreds of forms. From hand-sized lurkers to 3-meter-long leviathans like Eurypterids. Yet today, their story lies buried in stone. A few fossilized claws, faint track marks, whispers of a world where armor and ambition ruled the seas. How did they live? How did they hunt? And what finally brought these titans to extinction? The answers lie deep beneath the waves of time. Prepare yourself. We are about to dive into a forgotten empire where monsters ruled with scissor claws and relentless hunger. Welcome to the age of the Eurypterids. Imagine an ancient sea where sunlight barely pierces the water. Silhouetted against the gloom, strange creatures stir. Among them, Eurypterids glide and scuttle, armored titans of a forgotten world. Their bodies were built for both offense and survival. At the front, a wide, shield-like plate known as the prosoma bore a pair of large, segmented claws. These claws were not merely for grasping, they were tools of slaughter, sharp and serrated to tear through the armored shells of their prey. Below, rows of jointed legs carried them across the seabed. Some legs were spinned for grip, others were flat, evolved into paddles for swift propulsion through water. It allowed Eurypterids to chase prey, ambush victims, and even escape larger threats with remarkable agility. Their vision was keen. Compound eyes, set wide apart on the prosoma, gave them a broad field of view. They could detect the faintest shifts in light and movement, vital for both hunting and evading. At the rear stretched a long, segmented abdomen, ending in a telson, a tail spine or paddle, depending on the species. Some used this as a rudder to steer, others may have used it to strike or intimidate. Their exoskeletons, often heavily armored, bore textures and ridges, suggesting both protection and camouflage. Some likely mimicked the patterns of rocks or the ripples of the seabed to blend seamlessly into their environment. Through every feature, Eurypterids embodied the ruthless efficiency of life in an ancient ocean teeming with competition. Eurypterids were not casual feeders. They were apex predators in ecosystems that predated dinosaurs by hundreds of millions of years. Their hunting strategies were as varied as their body shapes. Some were ambush predators, hiding beneath layers of sediment. They would lie motionless for hours, their eyes scanning the murky water. When prey such as trilobites or early fish drifted too close, they would lunge forward with terrifying speed, snaring their victims with crushing claws. Others actively patrolled reefs and lagoons, using powerful swimming strokes to chase down agile prey. They would swim low and fast, sudden as lightning, grabbing prey mid-motion before it had time to react. Some species developed spinned legs designed to rake through soft sediments, flushing out hidden creatures. Others had claws adapted for slicing rather than grabbing, hinting at specialized feeding behaviors. Size varied enormously among Eurypterids. Small species may have targeted tiny crustaceans, worms, and detritus. Larger giants like Eurypterids, growing nearly 2.5 meters long, likely preyed on armored fish and even other Eurypterids. Cannibalism may have been common. Fossil evidence suggests bite marks and injuries consistent with fights between individuals. Whether territorial disputes, mating competitions, or opportunistic feeding, it paints a brutal portrait of life among the sea scorpions. Eurypterids adapted their hunting to different environments. In open waters, speed and agility ruled. In reef systems, Stealth and ambush dominated. Their ability to switch tactics ensured they remained supreme hunters for over 200 million years. Did Eurypterids live solitary lives? Or were they part of larger communities? Fossil beds provide intriguing hints. Mass aggregations of Eurypteridae fossils have been discovered, sometimes numbering in the hundreds. This clustering suggests that they gathered in groups at certain times, perhaps seasonally. One theory proposes mass molting events. Like modern arthropods, Eurypterids had to shed their hard exoskeletons to grow. Doing so left them vulnerable. Gathering in large numbers may have provided safety through sheer volume, overwhelming potential predators. Another possibility is mating gatherings. Modern horseshoe crabs, distant relatives of Eurypterids, converge in vast numbers to reproduce, synchronizing with lunar cycles and tides. Perhaps Eurypterids followed similar patterns, converging on ancient beaches or shallow lagoons to breed. Their movement left fossilized trackways called Eurypteridae trackways, where multiple individuals moved together across soft sediment. Some trackways show evidence of coordinated movement, hinting at more complex social behavior than previously assumed. While direct evidence of social structures remains elusive, the fossil record suggests that Eurypterids were not always solitary hunters. At times, they moved, molted, fed, and perhaps even fought together in the shifting landscapes of the Silurian and Devonian seas. Most ancient predators were slaves to the saltwater seas. Eurypterids broke that rule, while many species remained marine. Others adapted to brackish and even freshwater environments. Fossils have been discovered in what were once riverbeds, estuaries, and swamps. This transition was revolutionary. Moving into freshwater allowed Eurypterids to exploit new food sources, primitive fish, aquatic insects, and freshwater crustaceans. It also provided escape routes from rising marine predators like placoderm fish. In freshwater systems, Eurypterids faced fewer natural enemies and could dominate entire ecosystems with ease. Adapting to freshwater demanded physiological changes. Maintaining salt balance, coping with different oxygen levels, and tolerating seasonal shifts in temperature were challenges. But Eurypterids proved astonishingly resilient. Some species even appear to have made brief excursions onto land. Fossilized trackways leading onto ancient shorelines suggest that certain Eurypterids may have crawled onto beaches, perhaps to breed or escape predators. Others might have hunted in tidal pools, briefly emerging from the waves before slipping back beneath the surface. Their ability to conquer both salt and freshwater environments ensured their survival across continents for millions of years. For much of the Silurian and Devonian periods, Eurypterids were undisputed kings. But no dynasty lasts forever. By the Middle Devonian, armored fish known as placoderms began to dominate aquatic ecosystems. Massive predators like Dunkleosteus, armed with crushing jaws and impenetrable armor, introduced a new form of competition. Placoderms could destroy a Eurypterid's exoskeleton in a single bite. They hunted with power and precision, challenging Eurypterids in open water, reefs, and rivers alike. Simultaneously, environmental pressures mounted, fluctuations in sea levels, oxygen depletion events, and changes in climate destabilized marine ecosystems. Habitats shrank, prey became scarce. The late Devonian extinction, one of the major mass extinctions in Earth's history, delivered the final blow. Whole families of marine life vanished. Eurypterids, already under pressure, suffered catastrophic losses. Some freshwater species clung to survival, isolated in shrinking wetlands and swampy backwaters. They endured a little longer, but they too were ultimately swept away by relentless evolutionary tides. By the end of the Carboniferous period, the Eurypterids, once lords of the Paleozoic seas, had faded into extinction. Only fossils remained, silent witnesses to their ancient glory. Today, the oceans whisper of lives long vanished. The tides, the reefs, the shifting sands, all remember, in ways we can barely perceive. Eurypterids once ruled those waters. They hunted, fought, and thrived across ancient seascapes no human eye has ever seen. For millions of years, they shaped ecosystems, toppled rivals, and carved out dominions in environments that would seem utterly alien to us now. But even the greatest hunters are not immune to change. As new predators rose and the seas themselves transformed, the Eurypterids' long reign crumbled. Some adapted for a time, shrinking in size, seeking refuge in freshwater havens. But the clock of evolution ticks on relentlessly, and eventually, they too fell silent. Their passing was not marked by cataclysmic battles or great monuments, but by the quiet accumulation of sediment and stone. Over eons, their armored remains hardened into fossils, entombed within the Earth's shifting crust, waiting patiently for rediscovery. It is through these fragments, the imprint of a claw, the curve of a tail spine, that we glimpse their story. Each fossil is a portal, a window into an era when the seas teemed with creatures both marvelous and monstrous. Through careful study, through imagination tempered by evidence, we reconstruct their world. We hear the hiss of ancient tides. We see armored giants prowling the shallows. We witness the drama of life and death in primordial oceans. Though the Eurypterids themselves are gone, their legacy lingers. Modern arthropods, crabs, spiders, scorpions, carry echoes of the distant ancestry. The strategies of survival honed by Eurypterids live on in countless forms. Ambush predators lurking in shadows, burrowers hidden beneath sand, quick-striking hunters that rule coral reefs and rocky shores. They remind us that extinction is not an end, but a transformation. Life endures, adapts, and finds new shapes to fill old roles. In every horseshoe crab crawling across a moonlit beach, we catch a faint, flickering reflection of those ancient sea scorpions, survivors in spirit, if not in body. The Eurypterid story is not merely about dominance or demise. It is about resilience, about the fierce, ceaseless pulse of life striving against time, chance, and change. Their fossils whisper this truth to us. Across 500 million years, to live is to adapt. To rule, even for a moment in the grand theater of Earth's history, is a victory beyond measure. Beneath layers of limestone and shale, Eurypterids sleep in their stone tombs. They lie curled in final repose, claws folded, tails curved, bodies etched in ghostly outline, not gone, but transformed, from living predators into timeless monuments of evolution's endless experiment. Their ancient oceans have dried, their continents have drifted, their worlds have turned to dust. But still they remain, silent, patient, eternal, waiting for curious hands to brush away the stone, and for wandering minds to breathe life back into their forgotten kingdoms. In the end, Eurypterids teach us a simple, powerful lesson. Nothing truly vanishes. Every creature that ever lived leaves its mark, if only we care enough to look. And somewhere, in the cold memory of ancient seas, their shadows still glide across the twilight depths,